So we're going to change the oil on a 2019 Audi A3. This happens to be a cabriolet, but it would be the same for a hardtop. And the first thing we do is get the vehicle up either on jack stands or on ramps. To get it up on the ramps, I recommend having probably a 2x6 with the 2x4 underneath it. I've cut the edges of these off at an angle with a little skill saw so that they fit up on top of that, on top of the ramp, and this will support the 2x6 so it won't break in the middle when you're ramping it up, because these vehicles are so low to the ground in the front. And then you could line it up, get everything lined up on top of the wood, and I have no problems getting under that front fairing, which would hit on these ramps if you didn't use some sort of a wood structure to get it where it won't scrape the lower fairing on top of the ramp. Trying to get it up, it'll hit before you even get halfway up the ramp. And so we've got it's got a special drain plug. In fact, if you want to, you can just use, rather than have a special tool, in my toolbox I've got a nice little just a kind of a screwdriver tip on the end of a 1/4 inch socket. Here I've stuck it in the socket. You can see that that's what you're going to need to get that new plastic oil drain plug out. You turn it about half a turn, it pops out. You turn it a half a turn back in, you pop it in. The oil filter now comes under the housing, so you take the housing off. Be careful not to drip your oil everywhere onto your nice car. And that filter element will come out of the housing. I guess it's probably more environmentally friendly that way. And a little bit less expensive. You're not paying $20 for an oil filter. I just got the SGP filter. So this is the first oil change on the vehicle. It's going to take 6 quarts. I'm using Mobil. I recommend, well, they want you to use a synthetic oil, and I'm going to use a little bit heavier oil than the 0 weights that they call for. We live in North Carolina. It's hot outside most of the time, and the 0 weight may be a little better to meet their emission standards for per vehicle. Maybe they'll get another half a mile per gallon out of this car, I don't know, and that adds to their corporate average fuel economy or their CAFE mileage standards for this particular model. But I think with the turbocharged small engine, you know, 10W30 might be a better oil than the slightly thinner, more viscous 0 weight. So anyways, take 6 quarts back in. You got to take the belly pan off of the car. It's got aluminum belly pan to get at the oil. 13 millimeter and a Torx head socket to get the small screws. There's sheet metal screws, and then ones on the very front of the plate of the pan, the belly pan, are not sheet metal screws. They're actually small screws, but they're threaded like a regular fastener would be. And so don't mix those up. They won't go in the other way. There's 4 of them in the front. And that's what it takes. New plastic oil pan requires a special tool, but you can use a flathead screwdriver, a real wide one, like I showed you. 6 quarts of oil, I believe, for this vehicle, and 10,000 miles between changes. This first oil change we're doing at 6,500 and going to Mobil 1 synthetic 10W30. Hope this is helpful to you.